Alrighty, people, we are pretty much in the last quarter of 2024. The summer season is coming to a close, the youngins are going back to school, and we still got a hell of a lot of releases to come out this year. But the question is, which ones do I actually give a fuck about? You're going to find out today. Today, I am going to be counting down my top 10 most anticipated releases for the remainder of the year, along with a couple honorable mentions. So comment down below what you're excited for the remainder of 2024, and let's get started. Starting things off with a couple honorable mentions, the first of which being Joker I'm not even going to attempt that title, so Joker 2. Now, I really enjoyed the first one. I liked what it had to say. It didn't beat you over the head with what commentary it was trying to get across. The acting was great, and I liked the gritty tone that it had going for it. So, despite the last couple of minutes that it actually ended off of, if it had ended off he's on the car, the crowd's cheering him, that could have been maybe a more powerful ending. But as is, I still like the ambiguity of it. It still leaves the question, was it all in his head, or what really happened, what didn't happen? Really true to the spirit of Joker. And that's why I've always been hesitant about a sequel, because that's obviously going to answer some questions as to what really happened, what didn't happen. And I like the idea of Harley Quinn coming into it and how she's being introduced. I'm interested in how they're going to be given this new approach to the character, and hell, with the film having a musical element to it, like what they're saying. Lady Gaga's a hell of a singer, so I'm down to see what she's gonna deliver and bring to the character. But that's just the thing, man. Like, do I think it could be good? Yeah, I don't see why it couldn't. As good as the first one, is yet to be seen. But what I care more about is it going to be necessary? Because don't get me wrong, I'm not always a stick in the mud about, it needs to be necessary to be good. Sometimes I can just go in, enjoy it, and all that. But this is just one of those times, man, where, do we really need another one? So there is something interesting there for sure. Like maybe the script was so good that it compelled him so much that, you know what? This is going to be my first sequel. Maybe, but then another thing I'm worried about is the whole musical side of things that they're saying this film is going to have. Now, granted, they've said there's not actually going to be the character's going to break into song type musical or whatever. So, okay, but just something about that just screams how to put it, how to compare it. You know how, the first two Batman films, they were gritty, they had moments of humor, but they were gritty, they were dark. The second one, Batman Returns especially, was fucking dark. And then afterwards you got Batman Forever and Batman and Robin, and yeah, need I say more? And then there's the first Wonder Woman. Definitely had humor, but it was mostly a serious, powerful film. Then you had Wonder Woman 84, which, yeah, need I say more? So that compared to how gritty the first Joker was. I'm worried that they're gonna go goofy with this second film, that serious edge lost. Now, I'll admit, I'm intrigued, given the fact that this is the first time Joaquin Phoenix has ever starred in a sequel to a previous film that he's done, but I don't know. Don't get me wrong, of course I'm gonna see it, I'm gonna give it a fair shot, but whether or not it'll be necessary is really the big thing that I'm worried about here. So, fingers crossed, we'll see. And then my next honorable mention is actually going to be the remake of Speak No Evil. Now, I've only seen the original film once, and it was certainly shocking. A lot of things in the film I didn't see coming. But otherwise, it was good, but not one of my favorite horror films of all time. So I just found it baffling that they're doing an Americanized remake of it. It's just like, really? You're really reaching the bottom of the barrel for films to remake? Like, that's no insulting shot towards the original film. It was really good, but it's like, really? You're remaking a modern day horror film that had only come out a couple years previous to now. Everything I was hearing about this was just like, what? Now, I'll admit, like, even before what I'm about to say now, I probably already would have been dragged into seeing it simply for James McAvoy alone. Like or hate any of the films he's in, he delivers his A game to whatever script he's given. Like, seriously, even in something like Wanted or Dark Phoenix, the dude's amazing in it. So, yeah, he's a talented actor. He's one of my favorites. Like, easily top 10 or maybe top 5. Adore James McAvoy. So, that would have been enough for me to not go in excited, but I just would have seen it for him. But then I started to hear some rumblings about some, like, I think they're like early screeners for this film, or like test screenings or whatever. And I was hearing some pretty interesting things that I do like to hear when people say this is what a remake does. That, it still keeps to the story, but it takes little curveballs and goes in different directions to kind of swerve your expectations in the right way. Like, a good example of a remake that I really loved for doing that is the 1990 Night of the Living Dead. It's my favorite zombie film. It's my favorite horror remake. It's one of my favorite remakes, period. And that's something that it did. It really took curveballs and swerved your expectations, especially like the last 20 minutes. So, unless they change things in the editing room and that's the film we actually end up getting, I'll give this a shot, you already have James McAvoy on board, so he alone was right there. That's my ticket bought. But yeah, if this is a remake that can actually change things up a little bit in the right ways while still keeping to the story, maybe this could be something decent. I don't know. So I'm actually more intrigued now than I honestly really wasn't like a few months earlier. So we'll see. Alright, now we're on to the cream of the crop. Starting off at number 10 is surprisingly going to be The Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. It took me a long time, actually, as a kid, to get into The Lord of the Rings. Like, I just saw it for some reason as just boring. Like, whenever I saw it was on, I just didn't care. Like, that was probably just my more simple mind back then. I either wanted to watch Star Wars or X-Men or whatever. But when I got into it, it was pretty much like everyone else. It's one of my favorite movie franchises, the original trilogy especially. If you just want to talk about the originals, is one of my favorite trilogies of all time. Although I do really enjoy The Hobbit, even though I do understand why people are frustrated with them taking one smaller book and making a trilogy out of it. You've heard all the complaints, but I do really enjoy The Hobbit also. Now, when I started hearing about this film that they wanted to do an animated Lord of the Rings film, at first I was like, yeah, cash grab. But then they said they wanted to do it in anime style, and I'm like, okay, you have my attention a little bit. And then we got the trailer here a bit recently, and I dug the style that it was going for. Like I said, I like the visual style it looks like they're going for, and the cast is really great, and I'm intrigued by the story that they're teasing. So there's not much I can say about it because we only have the one trailer and just the one story synopsis. But even then, just going off of what we know now, I'm actually pretty excited to see it. So LOTR, don't let us down yet. So, LOTR, don't let us down. Number 9 is gonna be Smile 2. Now this one is a more cautious choice because as much as I really enjoyed the first one, and I mean it, I was really liking the first one up until the ending. But to this day, I am still eternally split on how I feel about the ending. On the one hand, narratively, it makes sense. With how there's no way to stop this demon, or so far as we know anyway, the cycle is gonna keep going. So in a way, there was no possible way for this chick to save herself. But at the same time, I really got invested in her arc of trying to overcome her trauma. So it felt sort of nihilistic to give her the ending that they did, but either way, I'm willing to give this one a shot because I do think it's an intriguing premise. But then we just recently got the trailer. And unless there's things marketing-wise that they're choosing to hide from us, which I hope to God they are, it just looks like the same film again. I'll admit, I like Naomi Scott. I mean, she was amazing as Jasmine in the Aladdin remake. But I have questions. Like, where the heck is the dude from the first one? Like, he saw that main chick die. So unless more than a week has passed and the demon has already got him because he witnessed what happened at the end of the first one, then I'd imagine he'd be trying to use every second he has to try and help other people that are being affected by this. So again, unless there's things they're just choosing to hide in the marketing to surprise us, then yeah, good on them. But as is, I'm optimistic about it. Like, I'm optimistic enough, but I'm very cautious. Number 8 is going to be Moana 2. Not much to go off of with this one based off the trailers, but what I really enjoyed about the first one was the chemistry between the two lead characters, and a lot of that went into the performances from the two lead actors. And I'm excited to get more of that in another film, so... And it looks like a lot of the specific types of humor that we got as far as character interactions and certain types of scenarios, we're going to be getting some sort of variations of that in this movie. So, yeah, not much else I can really say except, yeah, I'm excited to see more of what I enjoyed in the first one. So, yeah. Okay, I'm just going to admit right off the bat here with number 7 that this is like a fully like niche type of choice. I don't know if that's the right kind of word, but you're going to see what I'm going for here when I get into it. So, my next pick, I'm going with Venom: The Last Dance. Now, like, I know that technically these objectively are not good movies, that they're not good adaptations of the source material. I agree. Like, I'm not like a Venom expert, but I know enough. And these aren't very faithful films, but I don't know, there's just a certain sort of clumsy charm that I always get out of these movies, and it just, I've always felt sort of endeared to that. Like, it's like the right kind of silly, like not right as in good, but just the right kind of silly, like teetering on guilty pleasure films. So, and kind of like Moana 2, it's just like everything that I've enjoyed about the previous films, I'm just hoping to get more out of that with this last Venom film, or supposedly the last Venom film. We'll see how well this movie does. So, I mean, how the first film made nearly $1 billion, so maybe we'll get a fourth one, or another whole trilogy. But as is, I'm excited, but excited on my own terms, if that makes sense. So, yummy. Number 6, we have Robert Eggers' remake of Nosferatu. I'm not, like, a vampire movie fanatic, but there certainly are some vampire films that I love. Some of them are some of the most beloved ones, like The Lost Boys and so on. Basically the ones that most people love, I love them too. And I'm not fully familiar with Nosferatu as a character, but this remake really interested me just based off the cast alone, admittedly. Hell, Willem Dafoe alone, my ticket's bought. But then the teaser trailer came out, and I loved it. I loved the atmosphere. I loved that dreary sense of dread that the trailer was building up. I loved how reserved that the trailer was with how they were showing Nosferatu, and it's really hyping you up for when you're actually going to see him in the movie. I love that approach in any types of trailers, like teasers or commercials or whatever, and I hope the rest of the marketing goes with that. Not that you can't show any more little bits of him, but keep the same approach, the minimalist approach of the marketing. So, while admittedly I'm more excited for this based off the cast rather than I am based off of my familiarity with Nosferatu. I have seen the old 1900s silent film, and I think it was the one that came out in the 70s, like the late 70s, and I really enjoyed that one. So I know enough about Nosferatu to be excited about this one, but it's the cast and the atmosphere that has me sold, that this is like one of the ones that I am looking forward to the most for the rest of the year. Number 5 is sorta kinda disheartening to put this low on the list despite being halfway, but I'm going with a TV show, Survivor 47. I am pretty much a lifelong fanatic of Survivor. I adore this show. It's literally one of my top 3 shows of all time. So much so that I've even auditioned twice. Either twice or 3 times to actually be on this show. And normally this is something that's always like maybe top 3, top 2 most anticipated of whatever quarter of the year the season will be coming out. But I'm not gonna lie, man. Last season really disappointed me. I don't know how many of my viewers are Survivor fans also. Heck, comment down below if you are. But Survivor 46 sort of disappointed me. There were just a lot of frustrating decisions as far as with the cast, like hell, who they decided to cast. And it's just this new format also that they've gone with from season 41 onward that I'm starting to sort of tire of now, with 26 days compared to the usual 39. I don't like how shortened and limited the time feels. And then the other new additions to the format with these new twists as far as, oh, you can't just play an immunity idol when you find it. You got to do these little tricks and tasks just to activate an idol, or that sort of shit. And I'm fine with it in variety, but when it's every single season now, I'm just it's really starting to get to me. But then the other biggest thing, like I mentioned just now, is who they cast. Like, some of these people were twits, absolute morons. Nothing but love, all the love in the world to Jeff Probst and CBS. I love this show, but yeah, this is probably season 46 was probably my least favorite season that I have seen in a long time, since season 5 when they were in friggin' Thailand or wherever it was. But going back into 47, it's Survivor. I'm always gonna keep watching. I'm always gonna give it another shot. They always deserve another shot. Especially in this instance, the show has rarely ever disappointed me. So I can only hope for the best, and that this is a more entertaining, brighter season that I'm hoping I can enjoy some of the things that have been starting to wear on me as of late. But Yeah, Survivor 47. Again, comment down below actually if you are a Survivor fan. I don't know how many of my viewers or subscribers are Survivor fans, so that'd be pretty interesting to know. So like comment down below how you felt about this specific era of Survivor from like season 41 onward, and how you felt like about some of the new changes to the format. Cause yeah, I'd be interested to see what you all think. Number 4 is the long debated about Sonic 3. Man, what a hell of a success story for this franchise. Like, ever since that first teaser for the first film came out with that ugly ass design, like everyone thought it was going to be another typical lame, effortless video game adaptation, but then redesigns to the character aside, when the film actually came out and it was as good as it was, like I've slowly but surely been rooting for this franchise ever since, because I really enjoyed the first one. I really didn't think I was going to, but I dug the hell out of it, and then I loved the second one even more, so I've been excited for this film ever since. And based off the trailer that we finally got, like hell, the marketing alone has been just as the latest Halloween Kills. But based off the trailer, it does look like they're going to be paying off everything that was teased at the end of the second film. We're getting Shadow, and I am glad to see that Robotnik is still a part of the story, because I felt like the second film didn't really so much give an ending to his character. I guess maybe in a comedic sort of way it could have been, given Jim Carrey's nature, but I am glad to see that he's still around. And yeah, all that aside, it looks like all the same usual comedic banter and wit between all the characters is just gonna be just as fun and lively as it's always been. Definitely more so now that Knuckles is gonna be a main player as a good guy now, so I'm really excited to see how all that's gonna pan out. So yeah, let's root for this to kick Mufasa's ass. Please. Number 3 is the newest addition to this list, actually, and that's going to be for Red 1. You ever get those types of films where you're trying to explain the premise to someone, or maybe you read the premise for it online, no footage as context, and you think, man, that sounds dumb, but then you watch the trailer and it looks really cool. Like that's pretty much this film in a nutshell. Like I was describing the premise of this film to my mom yesterday, and yeah, she thought it sounded pretty stupid, but then when I showed her the trailer, she was in agreement too. Like this looks pretty cool. And I like that the trailer doesn't spoil anything, or at least by the looks of it, it doesn't spoil anything. It just sells you on the premise. Santa Claus goes missing. A group of characters all team up to go and look for him, and they come across a bunch of weird different scenarios and a bunch of different creatures and characters. Bam! You gonna buy a ticket? Hell yeah, I'm gonna buy a ticket. Enough said, next pick. Number 2, the runner-up. Oh, this is tricky. How do I say this? Because it's funny that if a third film in this franchise comes out with the obvious title, oh man, the memes that are gonna come out of this. But sorry, dude, I'm only saying your name twice. Beetlejuice. While this isn't one of my absolute favorite Tim Burton films, like top 3 or anything, like it's top 5, but it's not like top 3 or anything, the character himself might just be the funniest character that Tim Burton has ever created in his entire filmography, which says a lot because he's come up with a lot of great characters and a lot of really funny concepts, a lot of wacky concepts. But the funniest one, in my opinion, is the man himself, the ghost with the most. Told you, I'm not saying it a third time, but yeah, I really like the idea that they're going for with this film. I like the way that they went around it with, it goes back to the familiar setting, back at the original house, but the story itself is anything but a rehash, or at least That's how it looks like in the trailers. It's all about the Dietz family returning, and one of their family members has died and all that. So based off the trailers, at least, I'm digging where at least it looks like the story is gonna go, and Michael Keaton looks like he's slipped back into this role like a glove, as though they filmed a sequel in 1989. He has not skipped a beat, or at least with what footage we've seen of him so far. I think it's really cool that all the other returning cast members, the ones that are still alive anyway, have returned. And I'm digging the new characters that we're seeing so far. Specifically freaking Willem Dafoe. He's showing up a lot on this list. He's a hell of an actor. And then of course Jenna Ortega, who's pretty much by now she needs no introduction. So, and based off the early buzz, I'm really hoping that this will be a return to form for Tim Burton. So, if what the early reviews are saying is of any indication, then that might just be what we get. Because I'm going to be honest, guys, because I love Tim Burton. But his past few years haven't been that great. Anything but. And I do genuinely think that if anything can recapture the magic, that Tim Burton magic, it's a follow-up to one of the most iconic things he's ever created in his entire career. But coming in at number 1, I'm taking a gamble here with Terrifier 3. Now this is another interesting franchise, because as much as I do enjoy the first film for what it is, I enjoy it more so within the confines of what it actually is. It's not a film that's driven so much by actual plot, because trust me, it's not. It's more a proof of concept type film. It's an 84-minute vehicle to deliver some nasty kills and sell us on Art the Clown as a character and potential horror icon. Which, I'll say this, after the second film especially, which is vastly superior to the first one because it had actual plot and it had genuine intrigue with how they're teasing Art's backstory and how they're gonna potentially expand on his origins in future films. So if they can keep the plot-centered edge of the second film and balance it with all the gore and the carnage that we of course want to see from Art the Clown, then this should be another really solid entry. What I'm excited for most in this film, outside of how they can potentially expand on his origin, is just the Christmas setting. I am so down for how demented and twisted this film is no doubt going to be. Based off of the look of things, it looks like he is possibly going to actually kill Santa Claus himself and go after children. Like, I'm so down for that, because something so sick and demented, as we've seen in the previous films, is only something you could really get away with a character like Art the Clown. And I really hope that they take advantage of all that. I have more hope going into the third film compared to how excited I was going into the second one. Not that I wasn't excited, I was, but considering how much the second film genuinely surprised me with how much actual plot and intrigue it actually had, it gives me more of a boost of confidence in this franchise going forward. That they're going to be able to continually balance gore and story. So if they can do all that, then I don't know if this could potentially be my favorite of this series so far, because I mean, I'm a Halloween type of guy, like all the way down to the actual Halloween season and atmosphere itself. So part of me is gonna possibly still be more partial to the second film because of its Halloween-centered atmosphere, but I do have all the faith and all the excitement in the world for this film as of now. Especially after hearing apparently that they are going to top the gore from the second one, which hell, I'm down to see what they're going to pull off, but I don't know how they're going to top the intensity of the second film. Like, that bedroom kill, goddamn. But you have my curiosity, and you have my attention. And those are my picks and honorable mentions for what I'm looking forward to most for the rest of 2024. Comment down below what you're excited to see for the remainder of the year. And if you're new to my channel and you like what you see, like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more. I'll see y'all next time, fellas.